have to load the application.
Oh, there's an application for it?
Yeah. MashaAllah. You know what? Let's just fucking record.
I'm telling you. Like, even if... Let me see. I don't know if I can see how long I can record for. Yeah, it's only like 30 minutes on full battery. And yours is like 2 hours on 30%. See the difference there? And you don't have a viewfinder.
Oh, this is yours.
So you do all of it by display. I have to use my viewfinder to save my battery instead of using the display.
ठंडी हो गई यार चाय.
Oh.
तेरी गर्म करनी?
Nah, I'm good. Mine's not even that cold. I mean, I don't think it's cold. First episode with Abhik the Gupta. How will this go? What? I can't change my microphone style on a voice memo, but I can do it on a call. How dumb is that? Explain yourself, Apple. Yeah, I can't. It's so dumb. Because usually on a call you have the option to record like voice isolation and then like wide. Would just put it on wide, but I can't. Document static. I'm so glad. I'm so fond of this name. Like it's a. I was just saying I'm so fond of this name.
Are you talking to the microphone?
Yeah. I don't talk to myself. That's a lie. Do you talk to yourself?
Last time I talked to myself, it was the day of my jury and I hadn't slept and I felt like I was fucking stoned. Like just completely stoned. And I'm walking. So I had to go from my room to the place where the jury was happening. And that was roughly a kilometer. I had to go back to get some more stuff and go. The whole process of leaving my room, going to the classroom, going back to my room, coming back, I was just talking to myself.
Out loud?
Yeah. And at some point I realized, let me just record this for the sake of recording it.
Yeah.
And now there's like a 40-minute recording of me just talking to myself, just talking gibberish.
So when you're talking to yourself, are you just speaking or is it like directed towards yourself? Is it like, yo, Abhik, how are you? Okay, what's going on? Or is it just like you're just throwing it in the air?
For me, I think that's the first time I've actually talked to myself. But a lot of times when I have an internal monologue, if it gets really loud, I'll just start saying shit out loud, like,
Yeah.
what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
But not always in a self demeaning or derogatory way. A lot of times it's like fuck that person.
Yeah. That's weird because I talk to myself so much out loud, but it's weird. So like I don't exactly speak to myself. It's more that I'm imagining that it's like I'm in an interview and I'm just talking to someone who's not there. So it's not exactly like, yo Rudra, that this is so cool. I'm not talking to myself, I'm just talking like to whoever, like no one's there, right? And I don't know if I might have said this before, but I speak in I have a very hard American accent when I'm talking to myself because of all of the influence that I have from people who talk in that accent online, and that bled into my thoughts. So when I think, I'm thinking in that accent. But as soon as I try to speak in that accent in front of someone else, it just like it doesn't even come out. It's just
goes
absurd.
away.
It's very weird. And as soon as I'm alone, I'll talk in that accent. Like if you get freaked out if you hear me in that accent because I never speak like that. And it's the thing is it's very slightly bleeding into my actual accent. So I never used to pronounce R's like R. But every now and then I just do it.
Yeah.
It just happens. But anyways, yeah. So let me just explain to you what this is before, instead of just jumping into it. There's not a lot of explanation, but this is not a podcast. It's just us talking, and there's no rules, but I just have to make you aware of a couple of things. And so like us talking whatever, it's not for this. This is just like there, and it's just gonna be up there. So I wanted to be like just talking. Talk slow if you can, because I love, like I've been watching a lot of Rick Rubin stuff and he talks so slow. I love it, and it's just like everything. If you like the same things you say, if you just say them a bit slower, it comes out completely differently. That's one. There's no filter, so to speak. There's no like you're not restricted from saying anything at all about anyone at all. I'm not gonna let my moral compass interfere with yours there. So it's up to you who you want to talk about, or if you want to take their name, or if you are even gonna say anything about them. Like I just need you to know that it's gonna be out there on the internet, and people are gonna hear it. So that's all I want you to keep in mind. Otherwise, I don't care who you talk about. If you take their name, it doesn't matter to me. That's all on you. That's up to you. Just like any normal conversation we would have, right? And if anyone who's listening, I'll break the third wall very very
Fourth wall.
seldomly. Fourth wall, my bad. Very rarely, but this is the one time I'll do it. If anyone who's listening, if you end up being in this discussion and you don't like it, then I guess tell me, I'll cut it out. I won't take it down, but I'll just cut it out or whatever. And if you wanna talk with me and have an episode of yourself, sure, whatever, just let me know. But yeah, welcome to Document Static, and it's a name I came up with. It was so before this it was called something completely else. It was called Apart. Just
Apart.
APART. I made a draft of what the posters and what it would look like, but it just didn't feel right. And I remembered this something Virgil Abloh said in one of his interviews, and it's like one of the best gifts of starting new is that you can always crush up the paper and throw it into the bin and start over. And I just remember, I'm like, I don't have to go with this something that I don't feel so proud of just because I'm so tired. I can just throw it away and come back with a fresh mind, and that's how I made that. and I'm actually, what I should do is, I'll design some stickers of these, and I'll just give them to everyone who I'm having a podcast with. So, yeah, I should stop saying that word. This is not a podcast. At least maybe I don't want to use that word, but it's just like, this is not a podcast. Remember remember that I should give you a sticker or a couple before you leave. So I'll get them printed by Saturday. Or maybe tomorrow itself we might find some printers in KP because we're gonna be there. So I'll design them tonight itself. But yeah, we've been missing in action for a long time because you haven't been around. So I just wanna, and okay, before I even go there, this is not an interview. Like, I'm not interviewing you. This is a 50. I don't even want to say 50-50. It's not just me asking you questions and you answering. You can just go up to a completely different tangent and ask me questions, and it can be all about me as well, right?
So this is just a series of conversations, and the only common denominator is you.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, obviously, because I'm the common denominator, I want there to be less of me and more of whoever is there. But still, like, in a traditional interview, you don't usually ask the interviewer, how are you and how is your life. But my idea is, like, 10 years later, some kid will listen to this and be like, damn, this is so much richness in this conversation that just two people are having for the sake of having it. So, yeah, anyways, we've been missing in action for a long time, and I just want to ask you how you've been and how you're doing right now.
I don't know how I'm doing. It's very strange because I feel very different from how I used to feel. Say 3 or 4 months back, if we were sitting in this very room having a conversation, something feels different. I feel like there's this invisible sort of barrier inside of me, and I'm restricted in some way. And my theory so far has been that it's just a lack of mental clarity somehow.
Okay.
And yeah, I think I'm going through a phase of my life right now where I'm only going to truly understand it once I'm out of it. Because after you've been through so much, after it's like sitting on a roller coaster. Have you been on a roller coaster before?
I haven't.
Basically, sitting on a roller coaster is like you sit down and you have this crazy ride. It's so fast. It's a whirlwind of emotions. You're thinking about the turn that just happened, or maybe the loop, and you're already on to the next one, and you can't process things quickly enough. But the moment you're off the roller coaster, you're in the queue to getting out of the ride. You step outside and you look back, and it's this insane twisting and turning and looping series of just emotions and events. And I think that's what it's like.
Yeah.
I think yeah, essentially this is just something that I have to go with the flow on. I think there's not much point, because up until recently I was super stressed about how I'm not able to do all of my quote unquote good habits, how I feel like I'm a little bit mindless, how I'm less present. I'm sure you can notice it as well.
Yeah.
Like, I'm struggling to make eye contact, simple things like that.
Yeah.
Like just reaching out for random things and touching them and doing this and this. I feel like I'm not able to make the same analogies that I used to. I feel like I'm not as articulate. But it's good. It's a good feeling because I've upgraded myself in so many other ways. I feel like my posture's gotten better. I'm a lot more confident than I used to be. I'm a little better at talking to different kinds of people. I'm a little more messy. But yeah. What about you?
I'm a little more Ronaldo nowadays.
You're a little more Ronaldo.
Because you said you're a little bit more Messi.
No, but you are.
Am I? I don't know what that means.
I know. I noticed it. I mean, you haven't really followed football or anything. So
I don't, yeah.
So you wouldn't exactly know what I'm referring to. But Ronaldo is this. What makes Ronaldo, and why, in my opinion, he's. Messi might be the greatest player of all time, no doubt. I mean, I was in denial of that up until last year. But Ronaldo is just an icon. He's way more iconic than any other personality in sport ever. He's this. He's this. He's just this beast of a character. He's uncaring, unforgiving. He just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He just goes and he proves you wrong.
The most I've seen of him is like memes on the internet. I love that meme of him in the bathrobe and he's just sipping. You've seen that, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I don't care what meme it is. I laugh every time I see that. And I love he has like one of 20 Bugatti I don't know how to pronounce the name of it. It's just like I don't even know if it's one of 20, but just really rare Bugatti that they've made in very limited numbers that he has. And it's like, damn, he doesn't give a shit, but he cares. Like, this guy cares. Like, look at, like, he's like at a such high position in football. You can tell he cares, but it's also like, he doesn't give a shit. It's just like this. I'm starting to love, not love, but like, I have a weird admiration for rich assholes, but only because they're assholes because they deserve to be assholes. Like, they have a big ego, but it's I don't want to say it's justified, but it's like they did everything that they wanted to do. So like I get why you're so full of yourself. And bro, what you said about you having a phase, hindsight is like the one of the greatest gifts we have, because I've understood things about myself that I couldn't at a certain time, and that understanding has helped me so much in the present. So, and it's weird because there's so many like periods in my life where they happened and I was so like shaken by them that I just let go of them and didn't look back. So the time like through January to like March, when I was just doing very bad emotionally, but the bigger thing was that my finals were going on for 12th. That was not my finals, I think, like was before finals, like prelims, whatever. That was such a weird place in my life because I wasn't attending classes, I wasn't studying. I mean, I wasn't attending classes for 2 years anyways, but like at that time I felt like I should be attending right now more than ever because it's important for me to pass this grade or whatever. And I just wasn't doing that, and I was studying a week before the exam, pulling all-nighters. I hate pulling all-nighters. I hate that. I guess that's why I've started, like, maybe it's just trauma or whatever. It just gave me put me in a really bad mood the next day after pulling an all-nighter, because I did all of this for what? This useless grade that I'm studying for. Like, if I pulled an all-nighter for something I care about, I wouldn't feel as bad, but it's like so much time wasted, and I can't even blame the exam because it's just my complacency. But like those are the things that I've just like not even gone back to because it's so harsh. It's making me nauseated just thinking about it right now, or maybe it's the AC, I don't know. But there's other things where it's like the relationship I was in, where I can't stop thinking about how I felt, and I'm like, yo, me spending so much time in the past is helping me understand what I felt then that I couldn't understand then. So, like, people always say that when you fall in love for the second time, you realize that you weren't in love for the first time in the first place. I don't know if that's true, but like, when I get there, I'll be like, yo, wait, I'll get a better clarity of how I felt back then.
You get perspective.
You get perspective, and because I'm not the same person I was yesterday. So something I felt yesterday, I'll have a better understanding of today. So it's like, I don't want to say that being in the moment is overrated, but going back to the past for the sake of analyzing your emotions is underrated. People are scared of that because they're like, oh, it's gone now, what's the point? But what's the guarantee that you won't feel that way again? What if you do and you don't know what to do? Like, that's happened to me so many times. Like, I know what it's like being so complacent that not studying and all of that, that I'm scared that I'll go into that pit again and I'll fail something like NID. And me failing NID is not me getting a rank, me not getting a rank, or like me not getting in. Me failing NID is me not putting the efforts that I think I should put. I genuinely don't care about getting a rank. I care about getting in, I guess. But it's like, if I don't, it's fine. It's like we have options, and I'm more worried about how much I want to prove to myself that I care about it. And you can't pretend that you care about something. So, like, at least you can't pretend and then act on it in an effective manner. Just have to care for it. And so it's like I need to tap back into the time where I had a conversation here about, bro, I don't want to do commerce. And you're like, just take a gap year. And the excitement I felt for like, wait, I'll be doing something I love, even if it means giving a really hard exam of things I don't care about. Like, I genuinely don't have a lot of care for sketching, but it's cool. Like, I want to be a good sketcher. Or just a lot of the questions that are in the exam, they're so like stupid, but I guess I get why they need to ask that. Like, this one time, Amit sir was just talking about what kind of exams will be, questions will be in the exam, and he's like, this one question came where it's like they'll give an excerpt from a poem, like this Rabindranath Tagore poem, and it's like a 4-part question. I might be mixing it up, but it's like you make a visual representation of what's written, and then you make a rewritten explanation of what you visualized. And I'm like, that's a good question, but do you realize that poems are arbitrary and that everyone has different perceptions of the same thing? So he's like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, okay, how am I supposed to get marks for this? Like, what are they looking for? And it's like, they're just looking for how good you can ideate. And I'm like, what does good ideation mean? And he didn't give an answer. I mean, he gave an answer, but I didn't answer my question. And I was like, that's I have to be in a different mindset about design. I've been starting to hate that word, and I'm more like biased towards art, but I have to get rid of that mindset, because if I think that way, then I won't be able to understand the logistics of why they're asking that question. Maybe Amit sir doesn't know the answer, but me being in that moment and a question like that coming up, I have to be in that moment and realize, okay, what does this question mean to me? And I can't think about, oh, let me make a personal connection here and write something really meaningful. They probably don't give a shit about that. I need to think from the examiner's perspective, okay, what do I need to crack this exam? And that's where it's difficult to digest a little bit for me, because I don't care much about cracking the exam as much as I care about everything that you do to study for it, because that's the thing I care about, right? I care more about the designs that I do than the Prime Minister of India. Like, I don't, these GK questions, man, like, it's okay, like, but I think I've gone too much in a subjective direction with a lot of things I do, and it's been really great, it's been so helpful, but it's to a point where I have to come back and realize, wait, I can't be subjective and myself all the time. I have to think about the things that I'm doing something for, right? Then, like, it's the number one thing I say all the time: do it for yourself. And sometimes I've forgotten the things that I'm not doing for myself that I'm still supposed to do. So I've just forgotten that there are things that you have to do not for yourself. It's your responsibility for someone else or something else, and you can't go into that with a perspective like, oh no, I want to do it for myself. You can't. Like, you just won't get anything out of it. I've just been thinking like a free adult, which I'm not. I wish I was.
I think the aim of that question was not to figure out how good you are at ideating, but it's about how you can convey your visualizations and your emotions into words.
Yeah, probably.
Because if you have the ability to put them into words, you have the ability to put them through your sketches, through whatever 2D medium there is.
Yeah.
Right.
How? Go on.
Actually, do you think, say a physical form, say this camera, right? It's in a three-dimensional space.
Yeah.
This poster,
Yeah.
this is in a two-dimensional space.
No, but yeah.
Why not?
It's still a 3D object. It has thickness.
Of course, but I'm talking about the.
Oh yeah. I mean, what's on it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's in a two-dimensional space.
Yeah.
What dimension is writing on? Words.
I mean, literally speaking, it's two-dimensional.
But it goes in one line, right? So wouldn't it be one-dimensional?
It goes like this, but it also goes like this, bro. You can't just keep writing like this though.
Of course you can.
Yeah, but
I mean,
don't.
figuratively.
Yeah.
Assuming, of course, because of the boundaries of the 3D space, you need to have that limitation, right? Even when you, obviously, when you finish a sentence, when you're in the midst of creating or writing a sentence, it's in a 1D space. But the moment you put a full stop on it, it turns 2D.
Yeah.
Because you've given it a length.
About
Right.
it. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a lot of knowledge about dimensions, but wouldn't it also be three-dimensional because the ink has the thickness on the paper?
Of course, but I'm not talking about. I'm not necessarily talking about how it exists metaphysically, but more like how it is understood from the mind.
I don't know that I'd call it in any dimension because it's like writing is such a not a weird medium for me, but it's like so like imagine a ruler and on one end it's you and the other end is the expression of your emotions. So like imagine it's a journey you go to. Writing is like somewhere around 2 centimeters, maybe 5, around that area. After it depends on what you're trying to express as well. But if it's just like a regular emotion like sadness or happiness, whatever, so that's there. After that is music, and I think what gets the closest is a photograph, to me at least, personally. So like photograph is like the 10 to 15, and what I do is I always start with writing mostly. So like I feel some way, I'll put it on paper or I'll type it out. Okay, I'm kind of there, but it's not enough. I've said this not my entire life, but I'll always say this: writing will never be enough. Well, nothing will ever be enough to express your emotions. But like there's a point where you feel satisfied enough, or like maybe I don't want to go too far because I don't know what will happen. Right? You get scared. I mean, I get scared at least. So after I write, I'm like, okay, I'll just keep this away, but the feeling is still there, and it's like obviously it's not for me to get rid of that feeling, but to understand it better. And so I go to music, and I'm like, okay, this is better. Like I usually don't listen music to feel better, but it gives me a feeling which helps me understand myself because it's someone else's perspective that I'm perceiving in my own way. But then when I go out with my camera and I'm taking a picture of a random ass car, and it just hits me like, out of nowhere. It's like, damn, the shape of this car, like the story of this car. Why is it making me understand that emotion 4 days before I felt it? Why, like, what is it about this image? And that was a random example, but I took this image of one of my friends on the street, and she was doing this. I think you've seen it.
Yeah.
And do you know the reference? So basically, uh, after Blonde came out, Frank Ocean released a magazine called Boys Don't Cry, which you need to check out. It's beautiful. I don't know if you've seen it, but in that, the preface or the was, what do we call it? The first page where it's like
Forward.
He's talking about this image of this girl in a car who's has blonde hair, and she's doing this in the back seat, and like you just have to read it to understand it, but like that image was like the inspiration for Blonde for him. And I was just at Parth's birthday party, and we were just at his place, and I was just taking pictures with my camera, and I saw her, and I'm like, wait, it just hit me, like she can do that. So I'm like, wait, can you do this for me? And I went and I showed her, like, can you do that? And she's like, okay, sure. She did that, and I took that photo. And so like me taking that photo and putting it out on the internet, I am crying and expressing a million emotions there. You just won't see any of it, and that's beautiful. And it's like that comes after every single track I've listened to on the album, because I took that picture. I don't care if it's a rip-off or if it's a copy. I made that picture, even
Holy
if it's
shit.
not original. And it's like, no, and I don't care about like me posting it on Instagram and it's getting like 20 likes. I don't give a shit about that. Like I used to, like I used to care about likes. I don't anymore. I'll explain why later, like how it hit me. But just that's what I love about shooting for myself, because it's like I'll take an image and I know the story behind it. I know why it means so much to me, and you won't get it, and I'm doing it for me. Like just I love that.
Shit, man. That is beautiful.
Yeah, and you know how I realized likes don't matter. Like
How?
it didn't take me. I mean, it took me a long time to realize, but I just went in on posting on Instagram without caring about it on my art account. It's like, okay, people are gonna like it, but okay, like I shouldn't worry about, oh, I should get more likes or more engagement, because I don't care about growing my account or whatever. I mean, I guess I care about more people seeing my shit, but like that's different. And I saw a lot of other people doing, like on Instagram. I've been more chronically on Instagram than before. Like when you were here, guess just went back into my old habits. But I saw these people where like they're not strangers, but I don't know them. So it's like this girl who graduated out of MIT. Her name's also Anushka, I think. She's pretty famous on Instagram. Famous like for our standards, like a couple thousand followers, and everyone knows her. People know her, and there's this stupid trend going on of this song by Jid. I hope you know that. I mean, obviously you don't. I don't hope you know that. That's good. But it's this random song by Jid where everyone's dancing to it, and it's like a trend where you put your phone on the ceiling, like you tape it, and you just dance and or to that song, whatever. And she made a reel about like making Maggie with that song, and she's just like dancing, and it's just so it's so stupid, because like, do you like this song? Okay, a little bit, I guess. Do you like Maggie? You do. Cool. Do you like doing what you're doing, dancing to this random ass song in ways you don't care about, in ways you've just seen somewhere, and making this Maggie? And I know I'm making heavy assumptions, but I'm speaking in a generalized way. That's what people do with trends, right? They just do it for the trend, not for themselves. You're making this, and you're getting thousands of likes, like a couple thousand views, a couple thousand likes, hundreds of comments with people saying, "Yo, this is so cool, lit. I'ma do this too. You're looking so gorge," shit like that. Dick riders. And I saw that, and I'm like, wow, this gets that engagement. And what am I getting for putting out this amazing set of photographs of like 220 likes? And I'm like, okay, that's the moment I realized it doesn't fucking matter. Likes are a scam, because who gives a shit, right? Like I would rather have the equivalent of 5 likes on my photo, which is 5 people looking at my photo and being like, that's such a cool photo, how did you take that? Because people are too shy to comment or whatever.
Yeah.
And instead of having thousands of likes of people who just don't even care about the photo I took, and they're like, oh, it looks nice, I'll give it a like, double tap, and get that tiny little haptic feedback on my hands. or it feels nice. Like that's why I've been mass posting because I'm taking good pictures. How dare I disrespect myself by not letting other people see my shit? Because it's my whole like that's what I say, to let the world see itself through my eyes. That's what I want. And me doing that and just people having this sort of reaction to it, I just know it's not real and I can't rely off of it. So I'm like, very recently I'm just like, okay, stop posting photos or anything. Just start showing this shit to your friends, because I said this, like Instagram is just an over-engineered, overcomplified way of showing shit to your friends, showing cool shit you made to your friends. And there's photos that I just rather send to my friends instead of posting. Like, bro, I took this photo of a cat. Swipe left from here. And I haven't posted this.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And so what happened was, I was across the street and he was sleeping. So like he was just cleaning himself and then he slept, and then I was like, okay, he's sleeping. Let me get closer with my wide angle lens and I'll get some closer shots. Then he woke up, and then I saw, wait, he has heterochromia, like different colored eyes. And I'm like, blue and yellow. I love those colors. And if you notice, I've edited the photos in blue and yellow. The blue highlights, the blue rim lights, and the yellow theme. And
Holy shit.
I love this so much, and I don't want to show it to Instagram and just get a bad
It
feedback.
feels like,
Because it's like, I'd rather show this to you and get your reaction, whatever it may be, even if you say it's shit. I'd rather have that real interaction than posting it on Instagram and just getting some metaphorical, like some stupid ass number of likes. And the first thing I thought of when I saw this was like just the whole concept of duality. And the first lyric I thought of this was from Chanel by Frank Ocean, where it's like he's talking about being bisexual, and it's like see both sides like Chanel, like see both sides like Chanel, because the Chanel logo is 2 C's, and it's also like see, like view. And I was like, bro, imagine what it's like seeing the world in 2 colors. I know that's not what it is, but like imagine if people with heterochromia could only see the world in 2 colors, in yellow and blue, or whatever they may have.
shit.
So that's why I like Instagram, because it's a nice platform for me to like put my shit out. But I've just been searching on Google, can you give me a different platform than Instagram to put my shit out? And it's like the number one is just make a website. I'm like,
I
sure.
was just gonna say, because I feel like thing about Instagram is that the whole experience of using Instagram is that you are going onto Instagram to, it's like you're searching for the media versus you coming up to me and showing it to me
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
you looking for someone to show the media to.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different experience.
Yeah.
Like the whole process of handing someone your phone and being like, this is like, I took this picture,
Yeah.
it's so different.
I know.
Because a lot of people feel, I don't know if they feel more comfortable or less comfortable or how they feel towards it, but it's like taking everything you have and throwing it onto the ground, and people are walking past, they can look at it, do whatever.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Versus it's like me picking my shit up and throwing it at your face.
That's such a good analogy, bro. Because that's what it is. There's so many, like there's this account on Instagram which talks about, I mean, they had a post talking about Instagram, like artists on Instagram, and how artists don't get likes and all of that, and like people don't notice artists on Instagram. And it's like, I think they said something about how it feels like you're screaming into a void. And it's that,
Fuck.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like, I'm on the streets and I'm trying to like show you my shit. I'm not even trying to sell you anything. It's just like I'll put it up on the walls of the street. You know how in Mumbai when we were, we like the guy sketched you,
Yeah.
and there were people ahead who were just selling paintings. That's how it is. So it's like I'm just putting it up, and you can walk by and whatever. But it's like me showing it to you is like me coming with the frame in your face. Look at this. I made this. What do you think? And I don't care if you say you hate it. Just see, look at it. Give me that attention. And that's why I put up that story on my close friends. Like I have this desire to be watched. Like I want to be watched secretly. Not in my everyday life, but like everything I'm working on that I'm not telling you or anyone else. I want someone, or I want this feeling of someone watching it and being like, yo, that shit is tight. And I realized, I guess right now or a couple moments earlier, that that's just me. Like I'm that ghost. And it's like I feel like I have a conscience of my conscience. And wait, not that's the wrong word, my bad. I feel like I have a mind of my mind. And it's like it's like here hovering somewhere, and it's looking down everything I make, and it's like that's all the validation you need as a maker. It's just yourself, right? Like it would be a lonely world with no other people in it. And like it's such a weird thing because you shouldn't care about what people think because you can't control that. But you need that interaction of feedback. If it's good or bad, if you care about it or not, you need feedback as a human being. And I think like this is something Rick Rubin said, and maybe this is something I've been wanting to say in terms of spectrum as well, is that if you love it, if you love what you made, that's all the value of that thing as an artist, and nothing else matters. Not even a sliver of someone else's perception of or opinion or nothing matters. And that's success. That you, if you love it, that's success. That's all the value that you need. And me going in with that mindset is what's allowing me to make things that are so out of my comfort zone, and also like something I wouldn't normally do because I'd be like, oh, are people gonna like this? Oh, I don't care if they don't. I'm not making it for them. And it's like I understand that you have to think about your audience, because in something like spectrum, because you're trying to provide an experience, but how, what, and you like I said this to you before. It's like, why can't I be my own audience? Why can't I approach my own work as a stranger? Like at least I can do that personally. I can come to my work as a stranger and be like, this needs to be changed, because if someone else is looking at this, I can't control how they look at it, but I can guide them. It's like a walking stick. So artists could have made, like artists who have this kind of mentality, musical artists, that they're just making it for themselves, they could have made the most garbage gibberish ever because they like it, but they're trying to give themselves an experience just as much as someone else, so they're giving themselves that walking stick. And there's this clip of this whole band, and someone asked someone in the band, is like, the music you make, is that for the musician or the listener? And it's like, the music is for the listener, obviously, but the first listener is the musician. And when I think of spectrum, it's like, yeah, we're making it for people like us, but who is the most like you that you know? Yourself. So it's like, if I was making something, I'd make it for myself, and then I'd just branch out a little bit to like you, to Parth, to Anaushka, to Aryan, to my sister, I guess. Just that circle, that's important, because you need to have a community. But that's what I feel like, that's what's giving me this weird feeling about spectrum, where it is currently. I don't want this to be a spectrum meeting decision, or conversation or whatever.
Go ahead.
But just like, because this is what I really wanted to talk about in any meeting we would have next. I'll bring it up again, obviously. But like, the reason it's so important for me to speak out loud about it is because I'm not the only one participating, right?
Hmm.
It's a collaboration, and we don't have to think in the exact same ways, but we have to have at least similar visions, because it's a collective. It's one product. It's four people and it's one product, and one person thinking a little bit left than the other, or at least a little bit in the wrong direction than the other, quote unquote wrong. There's no wrong direction, so to speak, but just an opposite direction can take away the whole um, vibe of the product. And so what we did in, like, what you did in the first issue with the pages you made, and you were like, oh, it's horrible, like you can't read it. That part said that as well, and I'm like, does it matter if you can read it, if you like it? And to me it doesn't. I don't care how legible it is. If I like the way it's presented, it's good. And this is where rules come in. Like, that's why people like, that's why they teach rules in design about use grid systems, use, like, this is good kerning for typography. Kerning is like the space between each character. This like, you should, one sentence should be usually 8 to 10 words, because if it's too long then it's going to be like hard to read or whatever. But it's like, the reason you learn all of that is not so you can stay limited to that, which is what people get trapped into, but it's so that after you learn it, you can come back and be like, what gives me a better feeling? It's about understanding yourself. So me learning grids and whatnot is not limiting. It's me understanding what I know, what I care about better. And like, so Boys Don't Cry, the forward, I'll show you. I won't make you read it, but I'll just show you what the forward looks like. And it's illegible. It looks meh, I guess you could say, but I love it because he didn't care about that. Where did I? Oh, my bad, I sent it to Medhavi from my laptop, so it's not on my phone. This is the forward. Oops. And like, is that following any design rule? Is that fucking? And I don't want us to rip this off, but it's like, this is what, like, he made this, and he probably was like, okay, this feels good, this is done, let's move on. I think that's what it should be.
Hmm.
So that's my view. I really didn't want to change my. I mean, I was inclined to doing it when we were in the final stage of the second issue, where Parth was like, can you just remake your write-up pages because it looks very illegible, whatever. And I like, looking back, yeah, it was pretty bad. I could have paid more attention to how the letters would look, but it's like, I loved those staircases that I made, and the strawberry I had in the middle, whatever. And it's like I'm not like bitter about, like, whatever. I can make good shit again, it's fine. But it's like, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
So Aritesh described it as the first issue. He described it as anti-design.
Who?
So Aritesh, the head of the Literature Society.
Damn, anti-design. Damn, that's crazy. I mean, I don't want to identify myself as someone who's against design, but I do agree that I've been hating the word design recently a lot.
Yeah, I've been able to tell.
Yeah, like, as I said, it's more art for me, and it's like, I got so infuriated when Parth showed it to his professor. That didn't infuriate me. I was like, okay, but
His reaction?
no, not even, yeah, his reaction as well. And that's like fine, because he's been in college, and like, I don't want to say he's like been what's the word for it? There's a
influence somehow.
There's a political word for it though, which I can't think of. But it's like, I don't want to say that he's been indoctrinated to that kind of thing just because he's been there. But it's like, you start thinking of everything you do in the ways that your environment does as well.
Yeah.
And like, I say this, and I mean it right now as well, that Parth is a great designer, but his concepts are lacking, and I feel like that's where I'm better.
What do you mean by concepts?
like story. Like he's better at execution than ideation. Maybe ideation is not the right word, not ideation, but like just building a concept or having a good concept. I feel like he's lacking, and it's not like it should be 50-50. But like, anyways, I'm going off topic. What infuriated me was in the group chat. He was like, it's not art, it's design," and I'm like, no, like this is like it's not even art. It's like you're doing the exact opposite of what we once said it is. Like it's nothing. Like it's not anything at all. It's not a magazine. Guess we'll call it that for the sake of semantics, but I don't. It's not a magazine. I don't care
This
what
goes,
it is.
This goes back to the very start where we were talking about should we call this a magazine or not.
Exactly.
And something very interesting that I found was that Suraj created his own thing, right?
Yeah.
You'd think it's a magazine,
It's not.
but I called it a magazine in front of him, and he said, "It's not a magazine. It's a composition."
Yeah. Oh my god. Suraj made me bitch. What the hell? That's so beautiful.
It is.
Yeah, it's just, bro. Oh my god. I wish I had my laptop, but because I wrote down this quote that I read, but I'll get to that. But imagine, just think of how we thought of everything we did when we were first making Spectrum, and we were just deciding everything. We were so like afraid of putting it in a box, in a border, and I think that's where it went in the second issue.
Yeah, exactly. Because we created a box
Yeah.
with the first
Like,
one.
oh, this is a magazine. This is 300 rupees. I genuinely like the first issue more than the second one. Only like the second issue is executed so much better. I love the graphics, all of it. But the first issue is more emotional to me. And I don't care about the graphics. If it's
The creative process was so.
yeah,
It was so much more original.
it was so rich.
Yes. It was authentic.
Yeah, like and the epitome of that is just the cover for me, because that was the first time I developed that style, because I just played around with curves in Lightroom, and I'm like, whoa, I can do this random ass shit that some Lightroom head will come at me and say, you're blowing out the colors and the highlights, and you've lost all the value in the whites, and I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about the histogram. I don't care. It looks good. And that's where, when I made that, it's like this is Spectrum, and I was so like, I didn't express it, but internally I was screaming with happiness that something I made with that emotion is the cover of this magazine, and it's gonna be that forever. That was beautiful. I just didn't get that with the second issue. I did, but like the second issue cover is amazing, but it's like it was so, it's less feeling, and it's more like we just stayed up till like 1 a.m. doing that on Photoshop, and it wasn't as emotional. Like that's what I don't give a shit about composition or how good it looks, or how I don't give a shit about graphics or colors or how legible it doesn't matter if it feels good. And the moment it started mattering was when Parth was like, oh yeah, we have to make it legible, and he's not wrong. I don't want to blame him, because there's some things that we have to follow for the sake of following them, like margins, that's important. But we shouldn't do that just because someone told us, oh, that's gonna be good. We should do it after trying it. Like, why do you wanna not dick ride, but like, why do you wanna like just go with someone else's idea of what design should be? Like, maybe I don't wanna add 8 to 10 words in one line to make it legible. Maybe I just wanna add a 3 and make a long ass paragraph and do 4 of those. It's like, how will I know until I try it? How will I know that the foreword of my magazine should be only words, completely filled, left, like center left justified, and like nonsensical, unless I try it? like people are so scared of ideas sometimes that it's like, oh no, someone said no to this before, and oh no, it just did not visualizing right in my mind, it won't look good. And like, bro, try, at least give it a shot. Worst comes to worst, it's a no. We rehash, we go back, we come up with something new. There's no, like, why you so limited by your imagination? Like, that's you are your biggest enemy, and like, you limit yourself more than you think. And maybe Parth is such a growth mindset person. Maybe I don't want to say that, but like, he's so he's all about growing, and I love that. But I see that more of that in his lifestyle than in his art. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah, I noticed that too.
like you'll see. I mean, I'll see him. Just he's always like, oh, limiting belief, whatever. I'm like, damn, you're right. Like, he makes me prove myself wrong, which is amazing. But when it comes to art, he just like follow a grid that he saw, and maybe I'm fully wrong here, and he does experiment a lot for sure. But it's like, I want him for like for a while to just throw out every rule, and start by feeling. Throw out your favorite fonts, throw out your favorite colors. I mean, throw out the colors you think look good, and then just look at a new color. What does it
There's
make
two
you
ways you
feel?
can go about this. Like, it's a path, right?
Hmm.
You get to pick one of two directions.
Hmm.
One direction is going in the way of becoming a designer, where he turns his current understandings of design into intuition.
Mhm.
He turns it into, yes, this will be appropriate for the viewer, this will
Yeah.
be, this is this.
Yeah.
Or he could throw everything in the bin
Hmm.
and start again, so that he can unlearn what he's learned so far.
Yeah.
That'll make him a better artist, but it'll make him a worse designer.
Yeah. That's exactly.
So that'll be him going in a different direction.
Definitely, it's a path. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure I have a very premature understanding of this because I'm not in design school, and I will be, and I'm scared because I think I'll be indoctrinated to all the rules and all that. But I think I have enough of a self direction to realize when I'm going too much here that I want to just like take a right and be like, wait, let me do this myself. But it's like, you have to decide what why you're doing it, because that's I mean, I used to think for a long time that you can't choose your emotions, and it's true, but you can choose where you want to go based on how you feel. And it's like, I can choose not to go to class tomorrow because I feel lazy, but it's not the right thing to me. I can choose to ignore that emotion to go for a better emotion or a more important emotion, which I might not see right now. And that emotion is the happiness I'd feel a few months later, being grateful for that day I went to class. So it's like, and it's such a weird position for like people like us to be in, because we're young and we don't know where we're going. We won't know where we're going until a long while. But since we've already made this decision of following this like made up, I don't want, it's not made up, but like this path of design, that I'm scared of coming to a point where you become a great designer and you realize, damn, I don't want this. And I don't know if that, like, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but it's what I'm afraid of happening to me. And it's like, I'm going to design school, at least right now, to be like, to learning everything that is about design that can help me. But I don't want to come out as this industrial logo designer who works for Google or something. And oh yeah, I'll make posters for your real estate building. Give me commissions. Let me take some headshots for you. Like, nah, like, let me do my own shit. I don't care if I make less money. I'm not in it for the money.
I think you verbalized part of my fears with design school so well. Like, genuinely, you've kind of clarified a lot of my thoughts on this, because I've realized that within the confines of creating something, within the confines of having an assignment, I've been less creative. I've been making more mediocre stuff. So in the situation where, say, I've been given an assignment where I have to creatively use these little squares and create a composition out of it, the output from that assignment will be much worse than if you just gave me the squares and told me nothing.
Yeah. Like, see, I've been given, so like right now, the phase I'm in my coaching class, it's about like, okay, you have to do a lot of sketches because your sketching is bad, and I know it is, and because you have to be good at this. And like, okay, so I've been, not just me, but like the class has been assigned to do like 40 sketches every day, 10 cubical objects, 10 cylindrical, whatever. I haven't been doing many of that at all. Right? I just picked it up yesterday, and I'm like, okay, let me just start with lines, because I had a gap between. So like when the exhibition was going on, I lost all of my sketching techniques because it was so. Like, remember, I texted one day and I'm like, damn, I woke up and I can just make straight lines.
Yeah.
Now. That went away because it was very new. So I have to start all over from there, and that's fine. Like, even though I'm limited on time, I can. It's something I have a responsibility for. So that's less emotional and more, integrity, and that's good. But it's like I'm dreading that so much, and it's like I can't enjoy it. I can make it enjoyable, but that's not what it is. But when I'm working on, like, I'm working on like 4 projects right now. That is nothing to do with NID or design, or it's just creative shit I want to do. Some of it will go in my portfolio. Some of it I'll make you guys hear in whenever we can, whatever it is. And that's so much more fulfilling. Like, I don't have a good schedule. I'm still waking up late. I have a mediocre lifestyle right now, but I'm happy. Like, I feel fulfilled making these things. But the moment I think of 40 sketches, straight lines, circles, ellipses, it's just, and that's bad.
But you know what it is?
What it is?
These exercises later on, it's like understanding what tool you have to use to move the artboard in Photoshop. It's like understanding how to use the pen tool on Photoshop.
Exactly.
It's the same thing. You're delaying your creative gratification
Definitely.
by doing a difficult task that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that is what is going to make you better in the future at expressing whatever you want to.
Like, it's so funny. Like, you've put it so well, because so for me it's like it's more an emotional thing than an actual thing. It's like when I think of myself being good at sketching, like someone tells me, yo, can you sketch me real quick, and I just whip up something that is like made for me, but they're like, what? How can you do that? That's cool as shit. Like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, when I imagine myself being a good sketcher, and like just like a small ass notebook, going in random cafes and drawing shit, I love that. But whenever I think of straight lines, drawing cubes and all that, it's just like, no. And that's exactly how I felt when I was trying to learn Photoshop. It's like, I don't care about the lasso tool. Like, I don't get it. Let me just not do that, and let me just stick to whatever I like, which is adding text to a photo. And it's like, yeah, that's cool, but like, you won't grow. And the way I grew in Photoshop was just like, I saw a tutorial and I'm like, oh, this guy's using this tool I never knew about. Let me just follow him step by step, and then I'll go back and I'll use it in my own way. But there's no, it's a different process in sketching, because it's practice, it's skill. It's not looking up a tutorial and someone making a line in a new way and you're like, let me follow that step by step. You can't do that. You can, but like, it's different. So, you know what, there's this mindset that has been really helpful for me, and I talked about this in my latest video, which is pretty old now. It's like how to overcome mediocrity. And every time I'm drawing a line, that is me throwing out, like vomiting out all of that mediocrity outside. So like, every line I make, every cube I draw, every eraser I sketch is me throwing out my mediocrity. And the more mediocrity I throw out, the more I reach my core, which is that excellence. It's not perfection, it's excellence. And
What's the difference?
because perfection is unrealistic. You can never make a perfect sketch, and I just don't want to use that word. But excellence is like satisfaction, um, realistic satisfaction, and so it's like whenever I'm sketching, and this is very recent. Like when I made that video, I was in a completely different mind state, and I listened to the entire video day before yesterday, and I'm like, damn, I'm doing everything wrong. I need to go back and draw again because it's me getting out all of my bad lines, all of my wonky lines until one straight line comes, and that's helped me so much. That is such personally, that is one of the best advices I've given to myself in terms of practice, because not everyone, but people dread practice so much because they're afraid of being bad, but they don't realize that every time they're being bad is one step closer to being great. And that keeps me going. It's like I don't care anymore about drawing a really bad square, or I mean a really bad sketch, and people will laugh at me and be like, thanks for laughing at this, because just wait. That's what I tell myself too. Like, I'm so glad, I'm so grateful that you drew this horrible thing, because the next thing is gonna be just a little bit better. And it's the most primitive quote, like, learn from your mistakes. That's exactly what it is. People forget the most obvious things, and I love that so much. Like, I think that's what's gonna carry me through the next 4 or 5 years of school. And I wish more people would do that. At least I know people who need that. Like, stop being afraid of being bad, because some people are so afraid of being bad they don't even try. They don't even start. Like, how are you gonna know you like or don't like something, or whether you're gonna get good at something or not if you don't try? Like, how do I know that I care about painting or not if I don't paint? I suck at painting. I hate working with brushes because it's so, like, it's not me, but it's like I haven't done enough bad paintings to know if it's really for me. But yeah, I just want to try out every medium that I can in the next 4 or 5 years. Every medium that I can, like, and there'll still be more, but like, it ties back to who I want to be as a person. Is that I don't want to be limited to just a photographer or a sketching artist or a filmmaker. I want to do everything, and you can't do everything, but like, you can't be good at everything. You can do anything you want, you can do multiple things, but you can't be good at everything. And I care more about, at least right now in this phase, to do more than to do good, because I know that the things I care about will automatically be good. So yeah, even I don't know if I'll find a word for it. Maybe it's not artist, maybe I'll stick with maker, but I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. I've like a couple weeks back, I noticed that you were using the word maker a lot instead of artist.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
I don't know. Genuinely, there's some words I use just because they sound better. I don't understand the meaning of an artist, because an artist is someone who makes art. A maker is someone who just makes. Now it's more about perspective, because it's like, you making that chai is art, and you could call yourself an artist. But I don't know that I resonate with me calling myself an artist when I make chai. Maybe I just feel like making, and I just made. So I don't know. It just feels better.
It depends on your threshold for what you call art.
Yeah. That's the thing, because I feel like everything is art, but at the same time, sometimes I feel like art is a heavier word and a more serious word, because not everything that I make is with intent or with so much care. Sometimes I just make because I want to make, and it's better to, I like when I'm talking to someone new and you be like, what do you do? And instead of me saying, oh yeah, I'm an artist, I'll just be like, oh, I just make shit. I just like making shit, because that's what it is. I think maybe I just found why it is that way. It's because at the root, at least for now, I care more about making whatever it is than it being whether it's being considered art or not. I want to make sure that Aryan and Parth listen to this whole thing. I know Parth will if I tell him to, but I don't know about Aryan. He doesn't get a lot of time. Oh, I also have to call him. Not today, but I do.
I think it comes down to expectations, because you're creating all of this without any expectations.
Yeah.
Nobody has any expectation on you that you have to make
Yeah.
this composition today and this tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
The burden of an expectation immediately makes the whole process of doing something full of anxiety.
Definitely.
Makes it full of discomfort.
Yeah.
It's like you don't think of it from the perspective of yourself. You start thinking about it
Yeah.
from the perspective of who expects this from you.
Yeah.
When I'm sketching, I'm thinking about how I yourself will think
Yeah. Yeah.
how good the sketch is.
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm creating art, when I'm just drawing on a piece of paper, it's more about the output than it is about what's being inputted. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And the way I see this going is that the thing about entrepreneurship versus being a designer, and this is what I'm realizing right now, is that as a designer, your kind of the expectation is the consumer, right?
Yeah.
Even though the actual task that the entrepreneur and the designer are doing, it's the same, right? It's creating a product to solve something.
Yeah.
But I feel like an entrepreneur is closer to an artist than a designer is to an artist, because the entrepreneur is doing it through his own will, through his own expectations.
Yeah.
Right? He gets funding and everything, but that's after he's taken the initiative himself to put it out there.
Yeah.
Whatever the entrepreneur comes up with, the product that's in his hand, it's his job to sell it now.
Yeah.
It's completely on him.
Yeah.
And I feel like I resonate with that so much more than creating something for someone and just putting it out there.
Yeah.
But today right now I'm saying that I don't want to be a designer, but I will still put all of my effort into becoming the best designer I possibly can become, simply because, again, it's that form of delayed creative gratification.
Yeah.
It's like I'm understanding the medium through which I can create what I want to create.
Yeah. I feel like I'm flexible enough where a year later, or like when I'll be done with my first sem and I'll be talking to you guys, I'll be like, what the fuck was I saying back then? It might come to that, and it's fine. Like, I'd probably end up being in a completely different direction as long as it feels right, as long as it doesn't feel wrong. And I might end up being like, maybe art isn't everything. Maybe, that's a good way to look at things, but maybe I don't resonate with that anymore. But one thing I know for sure, and I know is unchangeable, is that my end goal isn't ever to work for someone else or make something for someone else. It cannot be.
What do you think of business and entrepreneurship?
I think it's a really important pillar of society. The people
For you specifically?
For me specifically, I'm really grateful for the people who do it. Someone like my dad, but personally, I'm not. I don't think I'd be the best businessman because I don't have that passion for business, and I know that because my dad does. And when I see my dad talking on the phone and doing all of that, it's not just because he's developed these habits of persuasion and negotiation over the years. I mean, it's a part of it.
But a businessman doesn't give a shit about business. A businessman cares about what he's made.
That's what I'm saying. Like my dad, I can tell in his voice that he cares about this phone call because it's gonna give him that opportunity. It's gonna slide that opportunity in his company. But I just don't have that. Like it's just not my field. So I might end up hiring someone to do my business for me, just so that I can focus on my art. But it can go a completely different direction where I'd have to learn how to do business just because I end up getting interested in it. The thing is, I don't know how interested I am in business because
I don't think you understand business.
Exactly, that's the thing, right? So me saying whatever I feel right now is arbitrary until I go into it and I walk into it and be like, damn, this is this domain, and then I'll introspect and I'll be like, how do I feel about this? And if it's unsure, then I just know I have to walk deeper. So I'm open to coming at a point where it's like I've done my degrees. Let's study business. Let's study investing. Let's study how the market works, because it's gonna be important for me and because I care about it.
Yeah, I feel like you need to keep your mind open to the idea of business because that's not what business is. Business isn't like investment and going to business school.
Mm.
This goes back to that conversation we had about understanding a concept to its core.
Mm.
When people say you don't need to go to business school for business, it's because business school doesn't actually teach you anything about business.
Mm.
It teaches you about how to be part of a business.
Yeah.
It teaches you how to be a manager or whatever
Yeah.
specific uh, medium that you need to understand. But what business isn't understanding investing and economics and all of these things. It's business is having a certain set of skills.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Mm.
And let's just keep your mind open.
Yeah. Thanks for telling me that, because as much as I would say, like when I'm talking to myself, going back and forth, I'd say something like, no, like you have to keep your mind open, because what if something happens and you end up in a completely different direction? You can't rely on what you feel all the time, right? So like things happen to you, but that's not enough. Sometimes you need someone else to say things to you that you just need to hear. So I'm glad about that.
Bro, I love the effect that these conversations have on me
Mm.
because I don't know. I just don't have these kinds of conversations.
Yeah. I needed this a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if lonely is the right word, but I've just felt lonely because haven't met a lot of people, and I know it's the complete opposite for you. I wanted to ask you about this. How has it been in hostel, being around people all like 90% of the time, not getting as much alone time as you did when you were here? Like how much does that affect you? Because personally, I care so much about alone time, but it's like there's a threshold after which I just start getting lonely, which is bad.
Mm. It's definitely affected me a lot.
Mm.
The ways that you can tell yourself, like you've noticed the change in me.
Yeah.
I don't know what exactly that change is, but you can tell that there's something different, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's an overstimulation of sorts.
Mm.
I like college when it's you're doing a lot during the day, and then say you have like 6 to 7 hours of just constant interaction with people, working, doing all of these things, and then you have another 3 or 4 hours in the day to kind of just sit and reflect on it.
Yeah.
but I don't have that. It's like from 9 in the morning to 9 to whatever time in the evening. Sometimes it's 6, 7, 8, 9 in the evening that I'm with people, and then from 9 to 12 or 9 to 1 or 9 to 2, I'm with more people.
Yeah.
And the actual time that I get to think is the 30 seconds when I'm in bed, and what the 30 seconds when I'm thinking about one specific thing that happened out of 20 things, and then I get into that stage of where you're about to fall asleep,
Yeah.
but you're not exactly asleep, but you
Yeah.
can't really have a cohesive thought.
Yeah. I get that.
So it's just 30 seconds every day.
That's crazy.
Versus when I'm alone in this room, and this is the reason why I've been telling my parents, I just want to stay here, right?
Yeah.
I'm able to just sit and do nothing. Do this. Hello.
Hello.
What's up?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am amazing. Brother, what is our scene for the vortex thing?
Can we meet tomorrow?
Tomorrow, what time?
Subah.
Like, Subah ko, I can meet like in the afternoon before lunch. Say at like 12ish.
That's perfect. Can you come to KP?
I'm actually coming season side anyway. I have some work there.
Because
So,
Ishan is staying in Pimpri, तो उसके लिए दूर पड़ जाएगा.
Oh shit, हाँ. But वो वापस जा रहा है ना?
कब?
कल वापस जा रहा है he said, or like on the group.
अच्छा मैं देखा नहीं.
हाँ तो like मैं उसको भी कॉल करती हूँ उसको पूछती हूँ because I think he's not here tomorrow.
Okay. I mean, if he's not, at least like 2 hours should have a meeting, even if the third person isn't there.
Yeah, like because he's been keeping it pending since a very long time also.
Today I had a meeting with Dhaval. No, हम लोग का खुद का project चल रहा है. I realized how important it was to have like a physical meeting and not something online or something in college. Because just being able to sit at a cafe with a notebook, there's so much value in there.
Yeah, fair enough. Brainstorming also helps, bro. I get distracted online.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We can see, I'll call Ishan right now and see if he's been here. Not then we can see something. Like, are you free tomorrow? Like, what time will you be free?
So I have a meeting with someone else at 2:30 tomorrow. But but that's also in KP only. So what I'm thinking is that I'll get done with our thing, and then I'll immediately go to the next meeting.
Okay, cool. Good. I'm coming season side in the morning at 10. I have work there till like 12:31ish. I'm not sure because it's the business cutting. So that might take time. So either you finish your meeting thing and I can meet you in the evening in KP. Like after your thing is done.
वो भी कर सकते हैं, but that might get a little late.
I don't mind it. Just tomorrow I want to finish all my bahar ka shit. I have to sit and start work for June.
Okay, ठीक है, we'll do that.
हाँ तो like what time will you be roughly get free by your meeting in KP?
That's difficult for me to answer. Can I? मैं सोच कर तेरे को बताता हूँ. I'm recording something right now. I'll call you back in. No, don't worry about it. I'll call you back in like 30.
I'll be done. I'll be that side only, KP side only. So whenever you're done, just call me.
Okay, ठीक है. So.
Yeah. Chalo, bye.
Bye-bye.
All the best. Cheers. Thanks.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Who was that?
Huh?
Who was that?
That's Shishti.
Right.
You met her.
Okay. What was I gonna say? Do you remember what you were talking about?
No, and I think that's a good thing.
Okay, that's good because I wanted to get some other things. So, I did leave one thing in the middle. I said, oh, I wish my laptop was here because I wrote down this quote, and I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember it very well, but in the context of photography, this one guy said, it doesn't matter what subject you take on, um, because in the end, every photo you take is just a self-portrait, and you can't escape yourself by the means of any subject ever. And I love that so much because in the context of most things I do, everything that is a tool is everything that is a thing is just a thing, but it's really me expressing myself and understanding myself. So if I make a random ass beat on FL Studio, the drums, the samples, whatever, that's just the tool, that's just a medium, but that's a self portrait. And every photo out of the 2500 photos that I've clicked from this camera so far, couple months of owning it, every photo I see as a self portrait. And in the same way, Spectrum is a self portrait, it's like a group picture. I love that. That's what I feel like Spectrum means. At least the first issue, just the gradients and the the non blocky feel of it, the flowy feel of it. It's just it's um it's miscible. Like it dissolves within each other, and it's a self portrait of the four of us. And I love that quote so much. I made a new notepad for it, a text document, and I just wrote it and I put it in the middle of my desktop. That gives me just a very, very fulfilling emotion that everything I do ever is gonna be a self portrait, and I can't escape myself by anything. It's just a way of looking at my art that gives me a good feeling.
I was going to say that yes, it's a what you create is a reflection of who you are, but it's not a reflection. The difference between a self portrait and a reflection is that you create the self portrait versus the reflection which just shows up.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's such a good difference because I think I'm speaking theoretically. There's a difference between when you make something with the thought of this is me expressing myself, clicking the shutter, and this photo is me putting myself in it, metaphorically. And you just taking a photo because you like not thinking of that, and just because oh it's a cool composition, and then later on coming back to it and be like damn this photo is so me. There's a huge difference because the process and your emotion to the final product are two completely different things, and I will almost always value the process generally more. I don't know if value more is the right way to say it, but it's like you get I get more deeper um, within myself in the process than after it's finished and I'm listening to it back. And when I'm that's more of a reflection when I'm listening to it back, because it's like oh let me feel how I felt when I made this. It's all about, like, to me as an artist it'll always be about how I felt when I made something and me going back to that, as opposed to when I'm listening to like someone else's album. I can't go back to how they felt when they made it. I can only have an idea of what it was like for them.
When I think of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy,
Hmm.
I don't think about the tracks on the song
Hmm.
or its sonic feel
Hmm.
or what or or the album art or whatever.
Yeah.
what I think about is the fact that Kanye was isolated
Yeah.
in a studio in Hawaii,
Yeah.
and he was just with some of the biggest artists of that time,
Yeah.
and they were just in this one studio,
Yeah.
and they were just completely shut off from the rest of the world, and they were creating this masterpiece, right?
Yeah.
And that is what makes me understand the magnitude of that album. It's not about the
Yeah.
actual song that came
Yeah.
out, right?
Yeah.
It's about the creative process behind it for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I think that's why stories matter so much.
Yeah. Bro. It's not a quote, but someone just said it like, what's the point of living? What's the point of having lived if you don't have a story to tell? And it's like, maybe it's just a convenient way for me to say that stories are valuable, but almost every time I think of that or anything like that, it's like, okay, but why do stories matter? And it's like, I have that why question with everything, and I love that so much. It's annoying, but I love it. It's like, whenever Amit sir would say, yeah, you have to make straighter lines, and this is what looks good. And I'm like, why? Like, tell me why. And that's what I think design school can't tell you. Like, design school cannot tell you why you should make something you're making. They'll tell you why you should make it. They'll tell you that you have to be good at UI UX because user experience is important, and this is how hitting this button will make that person feel, and that's good design. But they can't define that for, at least nothing can define that for me. No institution can define that for me. And when I hear that quote about like, what's the point of having lived but not have a story to tell, I think of this other quote where it's like, um, I'd rather have loved and lost than never loved at all. And if I was never in a relationship, and at this stage in my life, my first question would be, why is it important to love? But I don't have that question because I know why it's important to love. And sometimes it's as simple as, you just have to know. So maybe the answer to my question of why stories are important is just that when I'm on my deathbed and someone asks me, did you figure out why stories are important? And I'm like, yeah, I'll tell them a story about how I tried to figure it out and be like, that's why it's important, because we just had this moment. Like, a couple years later, like if my son asks me that, I'd tell him that when you are on your deathbed, you will tell your son this story of your grandfather being on his deathbed. Stories, I guess, are important to tell just because what else are you doing in every conversation ever? Like, I just told you a story about how I might tell stories when I'm on my deathbed. It's not a story in the most mechanical definition, but like, everything is a story.
Let's do some sketching.
Sure. I do have a few more things to say though.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I want to say this at the beginning, but I forgot. So the reason it's called document static is because, oh, by the way, like, I made up the meaning after I came up with the words because they sounded cool. I just want to get out the way. I'm not any genius who just thought of it. But it just sounded cool, and I'm like, damn, let's see how I can relate to it. And so, document static, we're documenting, and documentation is a very important of my life at least. And static because in this moment, well, we're never static, we're never changing, but this recording will always be static. So we'll be completely different people in 20 years, but this recording won't have changed in any way, none of the audio waveforms will move an inch. Nothing will happen. Every word we've said will be set in stone in this particular moment that is burned into the memory of this phone, and it's gonna be that way forever. So that's document static. And yeah, declassified information only.
Yeah, the moment you said documentation, I understood what it meant.
Yeah. So the way declassified information only came. So Texture Labs has like this category of textures where it's just like words, and it's just like words in a just words in a on a black background, and it's like it's sampled obviously from somewhere. But I saw that and I'm like, damn, that the word looks cool, so I just put it there. And I'm like, wait, what does declassified mean? So I looked it up and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So let me just take that away. I put in a new font and I just wrote declassified information only. Makes sense. Yeah, and the other thing, which was the note I made in the beginning, I guess we'll close off with this. But so I think I've said this before, but I just want to bring it up again. I saw this video, this clip of Neil deGrasse Tyson he was on a podcast with Theo Vaughn, if you know him, and they were talking about the odds of living. And so the thing is, up until now, there have been around 100 billion people that have ever existed in the life of Earth, and so there is a number that quantifies the amount of people that can ever exist. So what you do is you take the human DNA, you do some math, you make some calculations and see how many unique combinations of that DNA is possible. And then you get a number, which is the number of people that can live, that can exist.
Yeah.
So that number is, in his words, stupendously higher than the 100 billion. And 100 billion is no joke. And it's so high that most people in this number that can exist will never exist, because Earth might become uninhabitable, or something might happen. We might get struck by a meteor tomorrow, and just based on time, that amount of people cannot be populated given the place we are on. So like the Earth might be overcrammed, or something might happen, but most people who could exist will never exist. And I just want you to think of that, the quantity of how many people could exist. And what he's trying to say is that you are alive against stupendous odds. 1/ however much that number is of how many people could exist. And you got to live, you got to be born. And he said that it's not that you get to be born, you get to die. So it's such a, I don't know if I have the capacity as a 18-year-old to understand the depth of that to a deeper extent. I know I will one day, but just right now, I think that's a more profound thought to me than something like remember death. Because I can be grateful for death, and it's like, it's easy to say, but you can't be grateful for death. You don't know what it's like to practically be grateful for death until you have died, which is a funny dilemma. So all you can do is think of how it's like to be grateful about death, and I can do that. And I don't see death as such a horrible thing anymore. It's so important for me to like do everything I can before I die, because that's just what my attitude is. But at the same time, when I die, and if I have any amount of consciousness, I'll be like, damn, thank God I got to live. I did whatever I could do. and I feel like I had the micro realization of the same thing when I was in 8th grade, and they were teaching reproduction, and they were like, out of like 100, like a million sperm, you were the one who touched the egg, and I'm like, damn, that's so crazy. But this is just like the big brother of that same analogy. Not analogy, just that same the same idea. Yeah, I don't think enough people realize that. What time is it? I might have to go home instead of it's 7:30. Do you have anything to say before we end?
I was gonna start talking about the possibility of how if we go by that theory, then out of the 100 billion people that have existed, is it not possible that two people have had the exact same combination of DNA? But I don't know the logistics of that. I don't want to go down another tangent.
Yeah.
I think part of my change from college is that my threshold for having super for having discussions that make me just sit and think has gotten much lower. Now more like I just want to do something.
Yeah. And I mean, we won't go down that tangent, but just even if that had happened a couple times, like, how much more is it gonna happen anyways? It's not a common thing.
Yeah. Right.
Unless we were wrong the whole time about DNA, I don't think it matters.
And there's a whole discussion about what the human consciousness really is, but that goes so deep, and we have such a tiny understanding of it.
Yeah, I'm too tired for that.
That's sketch now.
Yep. Oh my god, cramp.